Hello everyone, Alistair Gold here. That wasn't too shabby, was it? That's how you do football weekends. Obviously, Saturday, Man United drawing with Leicester. That's a good start. Spurs absolutely demolishing Newcastle United on the Sunday. Even better. And of course for Tottenham, Arsenal then going down 3-0 at Crystal Palace. And Crystal Palace were excellent. Crystal Palace fully deserved that. Tottenham are now in fourth place, and whisper it quietly, it's all in their hands. I know that's normally when stuff goes wrong, but it is actually in their hands. Even though Arsenal have got that game in hand, Spurs win that North London derby. Obviously, that's massively saying that Spurs win every single game to come, and we know that the way things twist and turn, that's just not going to be the case. But they're in a good way. They're in a good way. 3 wins in a row. The momentum is there. Confidence is there. Yeah, it's good. It's all good. And I kind of teased this slightly in previous videos, and you may have kind of seen, I've written a review of it. I watched the game in a very different way on Sunday. I was asked to do a review of the H Club. Which is the very swanky, very exclusive, luxurious members club within the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And to say I was slightly out of place would be an understatement. Let's put it this way. When my dad used to take me to Spurs matches as a kid, we used to go and have like a greasy full English breakfast at the cafe on White Hart Lane and then walk across and then, head out straight after the game, either very happy or rather depressed. Tottenham nowadays, well, I suppose in football in general, it's a whole new, I was going to say ball game, but it's not. It's about the day rather than just the ball game. They want you there for as long as possible. And that's kind of what all this is about. So, yeah, I went in there and I made it very clear, obviously this is going to be an objective review. Might say some stuff you don't like, might not, and then they accepted that. And to be fair, there was nothing really to pick out negative. And that's, quite frankly, should be the case because of the price involved if you want to be in those in that exclusive club. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, ridiculous as in luxury. It's a world beyond my imagination, I'm not the chap that normally is found to be in exclusive members clubs and stuff like that. And we got a proper tour around. We looked at all the other premium areas as well. I say we because it was my wife and my 2 daughters as well. They loved it. We had a very nice meal in the actual H Club itself, which is, they have a chef on. Like special chefs come in who are kind of renowned around the world. And it was Judy Ju who was doing it, who's a lady that kind of specialises in Korean fusion cooking. It was superb. But what I should explain, it's just the way it's all done. It's so smart. And, you've got all the Spurs legends walking around. There's an actual kind of area called the Players' Table, I think it's called. And, I saw Ledley King going around. Paul Allen was sitting at the table, said hello to us. Gary Mabbott I saw walking around talking to people. I also saw Mickey Hazard and Graham Roberts at different points, but I think they were, I don't know whether that was just to do because I think they were on the pitch as well doing some stuff. I know Ozzy Ardiles does stuff in there as well, and Michael Dawson, I think, as well. It's just, it is, if you can, I think probably the best way is to picture it in your mind. Simply think of the most luxurious restaurant you can, but then rather than just a normal wall of the restaurant, imagine a big glass wall where you can see into one of the best stadiums in the world, if not the best stadium. It's just like that. It's, I looked at their what they were doing with us. We had lunch in the H Club, and then after that we went into an area called the Loge, and you get your own private loge. And if you, like me, don't know what a loge is, I certainly didn't before I did it. It's like a very fancy booth. You kind of sit and you get your own thing, and it's same as in the H Club. You get your almost own private server. Like someone is just there every time you look up. They're like, "Yes," and it's like, "Oh no, I was just looking over at that wall." They were so attentive. And then we'd go out to the seats in the loge area to watch the game. And it is, look, I know that the stadium was an obsession for Daniel Levy, and his fingerprints, not literally, but are over everything in that stadium. All the stuff, and I know he was involved in all the meetings, even down to the silliest little things of like what surfaces should be on tables and what colour this should be, or door handles should be on that. And look, we can all have our frustrations with what's happened on the pitch at Tottenham in recent years, especially, and the decisions that have been made. But I think the one thing, and that includes me as well, you've heard me moan about various things that the owners and Daniel Levy have decided or done or not done. But that stadium, that's a legacy. That is for Tottenham. For Tottenham to have that stadium right and slap bang in the middle of the area, it's just incredible. It's funny actually. I was talking to my daughters as we were walking up from White Hart Lane train station too, because obviously it's not something they get to experience. They don't come to matches with me. So my youngest daughter, she was a bit like, but why is the stadium so kind of big and smart, and the area around Tottenham is a lot older and it's like quite run down in some parts? And I had to explain, this is what the stadium's legacy is meant to be, that is going to kickstart this regeneration. And you look, like I say, you look inside those areas, they're just phenomenal. I think the biggest difficulty I had is that I had to explain to my wife and daughters after the game, not every weekend you will watch Tottenham win 5-1 and see 4 of the goals pretty much right in front of you because of where our seats were. Not every week you're going to have, those kind of meals given to you, which, with chefs who have been involved in Michelin-style restaurants and stuff like that. It's like, that doesn't happen every week. And not every week are you going to be sat a few seats away from Sir Kenneth Branagh, one of the it's just won an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay for Belfast last weekend. This weekend he got to meet the Golds. Maybe, I don't know, it was probably a downward curve in his month, but I'll tell you, just as a little side note, Kenneth Branagh is one of the most passionate Spurs fans I think I've ever witnessed in the flesh. The man is constantly kind of just yelling and shouting and getting involved in the game. And I think that was quite the cool thing about the seats I was at. I don't know about you lot, but in my mind, I kind of felt, in the posh seats, as it were, you're going to see all these people that munching away on their prawn sandwiches, not paying attention so much to the game and just chatting away or going inside. It was not that at all. It was a really noisy section, lots of support. And like I say, Sir Kenneth Branagh is there leading the way. He absolutely made my daughter's day. Afterwards, I'd gone down to the press conference because I was working. I had to properly work as well, covering the game, which looked very awkward to me having a laptop on my lap in this kind of expensive area. But as my wife and daughters were leaving, Sir Kenneth came over and said goodbye as he was going, despite us not really having any conversation before that. I presume it was because my daughter, who is a massive Harry Potter fan, and he is in one of the movies, was constantly staring at him. So he probably felt it'd be a nice touch, and it was. And I think that's kind of always a measure of the man as well. So that was superb. And the seats they were heated seats. You had a little switch to press as well to heat your backside. I've requested them for the press area because it was wonderful to have a heated backside. I'll be honest with you, and that would be very nice in those winter months. But it was incredible. I went down and saw the Tunnel Club, which is very cool as well. Seeing the glass panel and what's going on, and looking, and the seats in the Tunnel Club are right behind the dugout. It very much reminded me of the old White Hart Lane press area, which was very close to the manager's dugout. But yeah, look, before you think that Gold's gone all posh, he's going to spend all his days now in the H Club, I am not. Because quite frankly, let me just read you out the prices of what it costs just for that H Club. Because you've got different areas. You've got the H Club, got the Loge area, which was a bit cheaper, and it kind of keeps going down the scale. So the H Club, which is very much the pinnacle, you have a one-off membership fee just to be part of that club, which is £30,450. That gives you the right to buy 2 seats, a pair of seats. Those seats, each one is £15,225 per season. And you've got to buy a minimum of 2 seats for 3, 5 or 10 years. So, I mean, 10 years, you're looking at, wowzers, a lot of money, like 330 something kind of £1,000. I'd worked it out for 1 seat, which is why I suddenly now have to adjust my maths. I think I'd worked it out as for 1 seat plus a membership, it was about 180 grand. And, it's huge money. It's like the kind of stuff that, I will never ever earn in my lifetime. So, yeah. And, and it's if you've got that money, why not? It's an incredible experience. You're wined and dined and it's all non-stop. It's like a bottomless kind of pit of wines, liqueurs, all this sort of stuff, and spirits, beers, whatever you want. And it is incredible. It's, like I say, it's for a certain type of Spurs fan that has done very well in their life, clearly. But, it does go all the way down. Like, Mark was our guide who kind of came in, explained everything and took me around all the various areas. He was a very nice man. And he explained that I think the lowest season tickets, it's not season ticket, lowest premium area ticket is something like, I've written it down. Oh yeah, £2,537. And that gives you all like light food, drinks at half time, things like that. And he said that quite a fair few people who have got just normal season tickets are upgrading to that because it's not too much on top. Look, I'm in a very privileged position. I got to watch football for free because, it's my job. So I have no idea what is attainable for the normal fan. That's, it's a hell of a lot. All of it's a hell of a lot of money. But if you got it, I get why people do it. And it's if you get the chance to experience it, if you get to go as a guest of someone, or maybe you are a very rich person and you have the chance to do it, it was incredible. And, I become a little bit blasé maybe about football because I get to go to it all the time. But to see my wife and daughters, at first Premier League game for them all, and they just loved it. I mean, it helped the Spurs won 5-1. It was like a carnival atmosphere. The fans were brilliant. But yeah, just seeing how different people are affected was, but it was very good. But anyway, enough about off the pitch. Let's talk about on it, because it was superb. It was superb. First half, Newcastle were very compact. They played exactly the game I think Eddie Howe wanted them to. But then, interestingly, they scored the goal. Shah's free kick, which was, curled. Hugo Lloris would have wanted to have done better about that. Slamming the ground with his fist afterwards. Excuse me, I've suddenly got like some kind of indigestion thing. Slamming the pitch afterwards with his fist kind of tells you he knew, got a hand to it, and he should have done better. But that weirdly made Newcastle really should have got that goal, sat back, and not allowed themselves to be opened up at all. They kind of went the other way, and it was something Eddie Howe moaned about afterwards. They almost opened up too much after that, and it's like, have you not watched Spurs? That's the thing that they thrive on, and Spurs were brilliant. They were absolutely brilliant. I mean, you look at some of the stats now that Spurs are on. They got their mojo back. They won 5 of the past 6 games in the Premier League, won the last 3 in a row. I mean, even the defeat to Man U, we've said this before. It was quite a good performance on the whole, and essentially Cristiano Ronaldo swung it in United's favour. So they are in a good run of form now. They've gone from a -2 goal difference in the start of those 6 matches to +15. You think about Nuno in the days when they could barely get a shot on target. They get shot a goal, let alone on target. And now you're looking at it, in the last 6 matches, Spurs have scored 21 goals. In 2022, they've scored 29 goals in the Premier League, which is more than any other team. So much better. I'm so glad that we're actually getting goals and chances and shots in games. On Sunday even alone, had 19 shots on Newcastle's goal. It was excellent, And what I was quite impressed with, we talk about that Shah goal. How many times have Spurs done that? And they've done it against Newcastle as well, where they've failed to break them down for one reason or another. And then Newcastle, let's say, but other teams you can fit in there instead, have gone and scored a goal, and Spurs have kind of gone, oh man, and they've kind of sulked and they haven't got the result. The amount of 1-0s there's been. I mean, we saw it at Burnley. I mean, what was it, a couple of months ago now? And that's exactly the opposite of what happened on Sunday. Spurs responded really quickly. Obviously, Sonny, lovely run from Sonny, won a corner. Corner didn't come to anything, but then the ball came back to him. And he just delivered the perfect pinpoint ball where Ben Davies, in his own words afterwards, leapt like a salmon and headed it past the keeper, Dubravka. And it was lovely goal. And you could just see what it meant. Tottenham knew it was like, we're back on. And it's like a bit of slap down to Newcastle, because it was essentially saying, yeah, you can score if you like, we're just going to score back. And it changed the whole mood. It changed everything about it, because before that, Højbjerg had a header over, Kane had put a shot wide, but really, Spurs weren't creating too much. Newcastle were kind of not in control. I think that was the way Eddie Howe said it. I wouldn't say in control, but they looked probably quite comfortable in what they were dealing with. But as soon as that, second half just opened, just bang. It was so good. I mean, I want to say actually, there's going to be a lot of story times with Alistair moments, because there's some really interesting Conte quotes that I want to talk about. So, just on the coming back from the first goal, straight away he said, "We were 1-0 down, and it's another positive thing I've seen, but because despite this goal, I've seen my team focused, with calm, with patience, and with resilience. We've got it back to 1-1, and in the second half, it was good to score the second goal, because then Newcastle were forced to play and concede a bit of space. To score 5 goals is good for us. It's not the first time. And in the last period, we are creating many chances to score. We are scoring a lot. I'm enjoying seeing my team play in this way, because I'm seeing great improvement in many aspects, tactical and technical, and the mentality. Now we have to continue in this way. I'm happy for the players, because when they work hard, you want to see the result of your work. Then I think the players are enjoying to play in this way, and also to dominate the game, to create all of these situations and win." And that's exactly what they did. They just pushed on in that second half. Every time they went forward, they looked like they were going to score. It's worth noting, Newcastle's goal was their only shot on target. It's the only thing Lloris had to do all game was pick the ball out of his net. Because Spurs were dominant. And, you've got to look straight away at the wing-backs, because Matt Doherty, again, first half, I felt he defended okay, but his problem was dealing with the fact that he was on the left-hand side. If you weren't aware, Sergio Reguilon picked up a knee injury on Thursday in training. Conte said Friday in his press conference, but it was Thursday that it happened. So he came out of that. I don't know whether Conte was just saying that so he could point out that he didn't say it in the press conference. I don't know, but it was Thursday. And so with him pulling out of the session and then not being fit for the game, no Sessegnon, obviously Doherty's the one to switch across. I know some people would have maybe seen Ben Davies there and Rodon at the back, but, I suppose it worked out at the end. And Doherty, first half, I'd say he struggled to work out exactly how to make an impact on that left-hand side. And then I kind of know what Conte said at halftime. He preached calm. He just wanted them to remain calm, and I think we saw that, because it's almost like he reminded the fullback or the wing backs what they had to do. And part of the system, we know it in the Conte system, is the wing backs. When there's defending, they're 5 at the back, but when Spurs are attacking, they're 5 at the front. And so if the ball is on the right or on the left, the other wing back has to be in that box as pretty much an auxiliary striker. That's exactly what we got. Was it only 3 minutes, I think, into the second half? Harry Kane, sumptuous ball. Sumptuous. I'm not using that word just because I've been in the H Club. It was a sumptuous ball. And it just curled beautifully. Sonny could have knocked it in, but it was just, it was either or. Sonny or Doherty could have got it, and it was Doherty. Stooped well, improvised, heads it home. And you can just see the reaction of the players around him to him scoring, because he's so popular. He works so hard, and it just hasn't happened for him until, these last 6 games, where he's got 5 goal involvements in the last 6 games, either assists or goals. Although, weirdly, because what happened, after, if you're not aware, is that, it wasn't after, was it the 4th goal? Doherty gets into a great position, cuts inside, crosses the ball. Emerson does exactly what Doherty's done, although, weirdly, even more central, gets in, pokes the ball home. For some reason, Opta and Premier League have not awarded an assist to Matt Doherty for that goal. And I have no idea why. We're all racking our brains trying to look if there was some kind of deflection or what. But for some reason, he hasn't officially been given an assist. So, yeah, it's one I'll have to properly look into because I do not understand it. They were just so good. They were so good. You know, I was trying to think. I think there was another moment with him as well. I was trying to see if I'd written it down. I was pretty sure that he did something else in the game as well. Oh, that was it. With Son's goal. So, balls played into Son. It's gone out of my brain. Who played the ball to Son? Kulusevski. That was it. Kulusevski plays the ball into Son. Son took it perfectly into his stride and smashes it into the corner. But Doherty was there again. You know, he could have scored that if Son hadn't been there. That would have been Doherty's goal as well. It's like, you know, Son was very good as well, I should say. Son had a very good game. But yeah, Doherty, right place at the right time again. And I'm just so happy for him because, again, story time with Alistair. But there was a really good interview with him that was a few of the journos did for the Sunday papers. And I read it in the Daily Mail. I'm just going to read you some of the quotes from it because it is, again, we sometimes forget that these players are human beings. You know, we see them as these characters in FIFA on the TV screen or whatever, and we sometimes forget they're just kind of like us in terms of their emotions and stuff like that. And I found it really fascinating. This story he told about like the lowest point, the real nadir of his time at Tottenham when Mourinho didn't name him in a squad for a match. I think it was at Aston Villa. But he had to travel as like the extra man in case of injury or illness. Mourinho named two 16-year-olds, Dane Scarlett and Alfie Devine, on the bench ahead of him. But because of the COVID restrictions, he couldn't get off the bus at first. He wasn't allowed to. I'll explain it, actually. Yeah, he explains it much better. So these are his quotes. I went to get off the bus and Ledley, who was the coach at the time, said to me, "You're not allowed in the changing room. You've got to stay on the bus." It was all about COVID, so you weren't allowed in the changing room if you weren't in the squad. So once the game started, so not until the game started, bearing in mind teams get to the game about 90 minutes, maybe sometimes 2 hours before. That's how long he was stuck on that coach on his own. So he said, once the game started, I was allowed to go into the stands. I was just sat on the bus on my own. It was the international break straight afterwards. And generally, I was so close to just getting in a car and going to the internationals. You know, I think we were meeting in Manchester anyway. I didn't in the end. I decided to stay and I watched the game and then go. And I'm glad I did it that way. It's just not that professional, is it, to do that? I know in your head you're sitting on the bus and thinking, what's the point in watching the game? I might as well go. There were kids, and that's no disrespect to the kids, but there were kids on the bench. Obviously, Jose was trying to prove a point to everyone, not just me, but for the players who weren't there either. You know, but yeah, that was not fun. I think I remember that. I feel like maybe there were a few other players that weren't there. Maybe that was the one where Winks and Delhi weren't even in the travelling squad. So yeah, I can understand why he's saying that. But you know, the beauty of it is he's now connected. He has. He's connected with him. I think. I was going to say. I think he says it. Yeah, he says it here. So again, I'm not going to paraphrase the man. Let's just say exactly what he says. I've just managed to hit the form that I was in at Wolves. I feel really good on the pitch and things are going really well. That has just come with game time. The manager trusting in me, and obviously the formation helps a lot. It's just happening now where I feel I've gained his trust. Even when we lost to United, lost to Middlesbrough, I wasn't taken out of the team. I'm able to repay him and help the team set up goals and win games. There were times that I played for him and I was in and out, and then against Leeds I kind of nailed it down and I've been in there ever since. And on Conte, he said, so many things that he's made all of us have little improvements on already, and he's not even had a full season yet. He's not even had a pre-season. So you can imagine with a full pre-season what kind of shape and what kind of state of mind we might be in. That is exciting. And that's the thing about Doherty. And that's why I think he's so popular, is that he hasn't moaned, he hasn't complained, he's just kept his head down. He fully admits that he hasn't taken his chances when they've come at times. You know, you could offer him the excuse that he's been playing in the right-back role when really he is a natural wing-back. That's what suits him down to the ground. But he hasn't whinged about it. And he's had a really good... he did an interview after the game as well, where he spoke to, I think it was Dan from The Standard. And he said, he was asked kind of when he'd been close to leaving. And in his answer, he said, why would I want to be anywhere else apart from Tottenham Hotspur? What an answer. That's the kind of answer. I know fans have given him a bit of flack for his performances, but when you hear that, that's the right thing to say. Tick. And interestingly as well, he also spoke about the diet as well and how, the Conte nutrition thing. We know about the lack of, ketchup. There's obviously quite the famous one and all that. But, I think I read that he's been cutting out pasta sauces. That's what he's been told to do. And he's eating lots of rice and chicken and told to drink more water. It's all part of the nutrition thing. I think he said something here. Oh, yeah. It's just in your head. At home, you don't dip into that sweet drawer that everyone has in the house. You want to be switched on. You don't want to give him, Conte, any excuses. And you want to be ready for him because he gives everything for us. So we have to give everything for him. It's the mentality. That's what you want. That is what you want. You want your manager to inspire that sort of reaction from players. And that's what it feels like it's happening right now. It feels like they're going in the right direction. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that as well, that feeling within the club a little bit towards the end. Because someone said something, one of the club staff, and they were talking to me, and it absolutely kind of like, yeah, okay, I see that. And we will talk about that. But back to the match itself, 57,553 fans there on the day. And they got to see some really good performances. Again, Ben Davies, very good. As well as the goal, I thought he defended really well and got up the pitch well. Eric Dyer, again, organising very well. Made a very crucial kind of tackle interception that set away Spurs for the 5th goal. Christian Romero is class. He is so good. That block that he did, I think it was to deny Willock early on. Phenomenal. He came from nowhere. It was like he kind of teleported somewhere. It's a bit like, if you like, yes, Doctor Strange and Marvel movies. It's like he just made a little hole to suddenly go through in the fabric of time, and he just suddenly appeared there. It was so good. And he didn't get a yellow card again. He's now got these 2 games against Villa and Brighton to go. If he doesn't get, I think just one of those games doesn't get a yellow, he escapes the 2-game ban for 10 yellow cards. He's got 8, and the cut-off is after the Brighton game. So he's got to make it through both of those without getting a yellow card in each. And it's been showing a lot of discipline, to not even get one in the West Ham game, a big derby as well. So fingers crossed, because your Spurs can't afford to lose him for 2 games at the moment. He's been that good. Obviously, at the wing-backs, Doherty was very good, especially second half. Emerson, a few of the early issues still, I think, in the first half of not knowing what to do when he was in the good positions, just that hesitancy sometimes when he gets the ball, playing the wrong ball. But I felt second half, again, he improved a lot as well. Lovely little back heel to Kane during one flowing move. And he scored his goal, of course, as well, which showed real grit and tenacity to get there for it. So that's good. That's what you want to see. You want to see him performing. I probably would imagine if Reguilon is fit to face Villa, I think he will probably come back in and Doherty will go on. But that's what Emerson's got to do. He's got to come in and show what he can do. What else do you have? Benson Kerr, another very good performance in the centre of the pitch. Very good again, just very calm and collected, and just use of the ball is so good. What I love is the fact that Spurs are playing the ball a lot out from the back, lots of tight passing, which normally we all watch that and go, "Oh, what are you doing?" But actually, with Benson Kerr there, they trust him, and you can see that because 99% of the time in those tight spots with players surrounding him, he really knows what to do with the ball and he very rarely loses it. He does occasionally, of course he does, and that is something you're going to get with players like that. They are going to once in a while give the ball away and it will be in the dangerous area because of where they're operating. But on the whole, he's looking at absolute, I know it's a cliche, but a Rolls Royce of a player. He really is so good. 24 years old, and he brings that experience, I did a piece on him today, and I was looking at all the stuff. He's won 3 Serie A titles, 2 Argentinian league titles. I think it's 2 Coppa Italias, 2 Super Coppas, 1 Argentinian Primera Cup, I think it's called as well. He's 24. Man's 24. He's achieved more in his life than I'll probably achieve by the time my days are done. Fair play. But he brings that to the team. He's a man that, as I said before, I'm watching the All or Nothing Amazon Juventus series, and it does kind of make you chuckle when we all kind of say how big stuff is at Spurs and the pressure and all this sort of stuff. It's like a tenth of or maybe less of the pressure that they get at Juventus. If Juventus don't win a game, it's like a day of mourning across the entire city of Turin. Well, obviously not the Torino side, but it is the biggest thing ever, and every player is scrutinised in the most incredible detail. So for him to have won 3 league titles there and be very instrumental in the third one in the 2019-2020 season, he brings that with him to Tottenham. It's like pressure, like what are you guys on about? I played for Juventus, and that's hopefully where Tottenham will be. That's where Tottenham need to get back to. They were once. They were way, 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 way back. Obviously we're talking a long, long time ago, but they can get back to being one of the biggest clubs out there, and it will be with players like Benson Kerr. It'll be with managers like Conte, and not only Benson Kerr, but I think his composure is contagious, and we've seen Pierre-Emile again. I'm going to use it as a quote later, I'll tell you, from Conte. Conte was very quick to point out at the end, like, no one's asked me about Pierre. He was superb as well. And he said both players played in a massive way, was the way he called it. And Hotspur, again, he does. He looks so much more settled alongside Benson Kerr. That's a lovely partnership that's forming. And, as one of Oliver Skipp's biggest fans and the president of the Oliver Skipp Appreciation Society, it's going to be tough for him to get back in that squad, back in that starting 11. And that's a good thing. That's competition. That's what we want. Those two were excellent again. And then you go ahead of that, and Kulusevski again, another assist. That's 5 assists since he arrived, which is more than, I think it's he and Kane maybe have both got it. No one else has got as many. No one else has got more assists than Dejan Kulusevski since he arrived in the Premier League. Says it all. Superb. I really can't think of a double deal or any deals really in the January window that have transformed Spurs as much. I mean, that's probably easy to say because Spurs don't do much in the January window anyway, but maybe even go as far to say a double deal that has transferred Spurs so quickly. Obviously, you're going to look at Ozzy and Ricky Villa, but I'd imagine obviously in the modern era, I think those two they are the difference between top 4. I was going to say I don't even think there's a doubt. They are the difference. They have transformed, in true Jerry Maguire style. Antonio Conte has said, "You complete me." That's what he's essentially said to both of them, and they have. The squad is so different with them in it, and it just inspires so much more out of the other players. I mean, Benson Kerr, he delivers the composure. Kulusevski is the playmaker. He is kind of, and I've said this before, but he is becoming the Eriksen. He kind of is. He's not just he's got the dribbling ability as well, but I think he is turning into a mobile playmaker as well at Tottenham. I had another stat on him as well. There you go. The only players while aged 21 and under with more assists in their first 10 Premier League games in the history of the competition are Lee Sharp and Arjen Robben, who had 6 each. So, make his own little bits of kind of history. I love the fact he's just constantly on the move. There was the 1-2 with Kane before he set up Son's goal. That was another lovely bit. There's another 1-2 with Doherty as well to set up Emerson. What also was really interesting about Sunday's match was 5 different goal scorers, 5 different assists. 5 different people provided the assists. They were spreading the love, as it were. It was all around the team. I just keep, he's 21. I just cannot get around my head that he's 21 and Benson Kerr is 24. Not only does it make me feel so old, but it just shows you how much more they can give to Spurs, which is so exciting. Conte quotes for you. Story time with Alistair. We're talking about a player that I know him very well. This is Kulusevski. Because he played in Italy. He started to play with Atalanta. Then Atalanta sent him on loan to Parma and he played in Serie A and he played in a fantastic way. When I was coach of Inter, I tried to ask for him, but then Juventus moved before. Maybe they put more money than us at the time and then they bought this player. We're talking about a player who's only 21 years old and he has to continue to play in this way because he's strong physically, big engine. He's good technically. And I think for Tottenham, this is a great signing for the present and for the future. We're talking about really, really strong. But also Rodrigo Benson Kerr with us. I said that with these two players, despite that we lost 4 players in January, with these 2 new signings, we made the squad more complete, with more balance. I think that it's very important in football to have a clear idea and to have a good vision, because in this way the situation is more simple. And I think Kulusevski's just ignited the whole attack. I mean, you look at the numbers. So Kulusevski, in the past 8 matches, 2 goals, 5 assists. Son, 5 goals, 3 assists. Kane, 8 goals, 4 assists. So that's 27 goal involvements between the 3 players in those 8 games. It's like, you know the start of Mission Impossible when they light the fuse. Dun, 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 dun. That's what Kulusevski's done to the Tottenham attack. It's just... I'm in a good mood. You can tell. Had a very good weekend. Very enjoyable. And seeing Tottenham like this, it just makes you want to see them more. You know, we've had times this season where watching Spurs has been a chore. And to be able to, to have your job revolve around writing about a team that is absolutely flying again. Look, it's Tottenham. So it could all collapse at Villa Park again on Saturday. But right now, it's superb. And, getting to watch Kulusevski like that, getting to watch Sonny as I called him, the smiling assassin again. He just looks so back in the zone. And as I've said before, the fact that he was still scoring goals and creating assists when he wasn't on top of his game, along with lots of other players in that Tottenham team, to see him now, he is blowing everyone away. His cross for Davies was superb. His control and shot for his own goal were fantastic. Could have had another goal soon after. It was very unfortunate. Took the ball down really well and just knocked the ball wide of the post. But he was phenomenal. And even Steven Bergwijn getting on the act as well, which I understand. I think people were quite annoyed when he brought Lucas Moura off the bench first with Harry Winks, because Bergwijn had a brilliant week on international duty. Scored 3 goals for Netherlands, absolutely flying, confidence-wise. And then to see Lucas come on, who's just been at Hotspur way. I agree. I didn't think that was particularly fair, but hey, all's well that ends well, because Bergwijn comes on. Lucas Moura kind of does that thing that he was doing, and he had a couple of really good runs, but then he maybe stumbles past the final man. But fortunately, he managed to kind of get his foot to the ball, which poked it through. Bergwijn took it, went on and scored. Lovely, low, confident finish. And what I love about it, I watched Conte cam today. Antonio Conte in the dugout, he sees the ball breaks to Bergwijn, and he immediately starts smiling and puts his finger towards back at his coaching staff, and he's just pointing as if to say, watch this. And Bergwijn scores, and he turns and celebrates. And interesting, Sonny as well, as Bergwijn gets the ball, there's a great shot of him smiling as well, because he knows he's going to put it away. And that's, Bergwijn's had some big misses in the past. He'll admit that himself. But interestingly, you look at it, and that's a confident Bergwijn. And this is why I think Conte really wants to keep him next year. His ceiling is so much more he can do. And as he keeps saying, he's not like any other player he's got. But I just have this kind of feeling that I think Bergwijn will want to go to Ajax to play regular football, which should be such a shame because, as brilliant as that front three are as I've been saying, they're not going to play every game. And there are going to be, hopefully, a lot of games next season. And I think all you need is one injury and Bergwijn can be in there. Perhaps Spurs might look to sell Lucas Moura. Maybe they'll think they'll get more for Lucas. Maybe Lucas will want more regular football. It can work any way. I'd be gutted if they got rid of Bergwijn, because I do think there's a lot more to come from him. I think he just needs that run. We've seen him have the work rate. If you're going to ally that with the confidence he's got now, I really hope that at Villa Park he's the first sub off the bench. I really hope he is, because if he's not, I totally understand it why he'd be like thinking, what have I got to do? And then there's Harry Kane. Harry Kane, very good again. The playmaker role. Some of them, I've used the NFL reference before because of Tom Brady, but it was again. He played 2 pinpoint balls over the top for Sonny. He played 2 quick, fast, short balls to Kulusevski, all that created really big chances. And it's like spraying the ball out to his wide receivers, whether he's just trying to get the 10-yard gain or whether he's going for the big 40, 50-yard gain. He was so good again. It was interesting kind of listening to some of the stuff after games, because Matt Doherty, they interviewed him on the Spurs social media channels, and he was like, I think he's the best player in the Premier League now. Best passer, best finisher. And he said he's even annoyingly the best at golf as well in their group. And some of the passes he does, they are like golf shots as well. Like kind of undercuts them or fades it. Conte said about him, when the game finished, I went onto the pitch to thank my players, and I said to Harry, I'm only disappointed about one thing, that you didn't score, because you played a massive game. It's very difficult to describe this player. I'm happy for him because we're talking about a world-class striker. He deserves the best because he's a great worker, a hard worker, and this is not normal. Normally, the player that has the talent doesn't like to work hard. In my career, I didn't have a great talent, and for this reason, I worked hard. What I liked from him from the first time, as in he met him, was his availability. He was a big example for his teammates. When you see him work in this way, for sure you have the desire to work and work very hard. For this reason, I want to thank him. He's always a big example for everything, and I hope to give him satisfaction. Big Jagger there. I think he's now enjoying playing this type of football, and we have to try to continue together. I'm seeing many players with great improvement. Also, and this is that bit. Also, Pierre, no one asked me about him, but I think in every game he's doing a fantastic job with the ball, without the ball, strong physically. Every player is improving their level, and for this reason, Tottenham is going up and up. And it is. It is. This is what I'm feeling. We're seeing Antonio Conte's Tottenham, and it resembles what he wants. The wing-backs doing their thing. The number 9 as a reference point. Yes, I know he wears number 10, but you know what I mean. Sonny and Kulusevski either able to come centrally and play or go out wide to overlap the wing-backs. You're seeing Benson Kerr and Hotspur able to quickly turn the ball over and play it up the pitch. You're seeing a back 3 with the one in the middle in Dyer orchestrating a kind of a deep-lying quarterback kind of role. But you're also seeing the ones on the sides, Ben Davies and Christian Romero, able to go up the pitch. It's quite interesting. My wife was watching the game, and obviously she hears me talk a lot about Tottenham, but hasn't seen a lot of it in action. And I was able to say to her, when Romero got the ball, I was like, watch him now. Watch what he's going to do. He's going to play the ball, and then he's going to get up the pitch as quickly as possible to try and get involved. And, lo and behold, the ball came back to him, and he's on the edge of the Newcastle area. And that's exactly what Conte wants. It's lovely to see. And as soon as that happens, they're moving in the right direction. And this is what I was kind of talking about earlier, is when you've seen this before. I've seen this before. Remember Poch's first year? He had the difficulties in the first few months. He even worried he was maybe going to get sacked by November. But then he found it. He found that little switch to make it the Pochettino Tottenham. And by the end of that season, they were in the groove. They were starting to move up. And then the next season was top 4. And I think we saw it kind of as well years back with Martin Jol. Martin Jol took over from Jacques Santini. Took him a little while to get his stamp on the team, but by the end of that first season, it was Martin's Tottenham. And I think that's what we're seeing with Conte now. We're seeing his kind of brand, put on that team. I mean, I've written this down because I really did think about it. And also, he's getting these full weeks to work with the team. And, it's kind of making up for the lack of pre-season. And some of the football they're playing is beautiful. For Son's goal, quick passing movement. It started from a Lloris short pass. This is why when you say it's about the counter-attack, some opposing managers will say, that wasn't. It started with Lloris. Quick short pass and just the confidence, every player knowing what they need to do on the pitch, what their jobs are. And at 4-1 as well, there was like a sweeping move from the back, which kind of involved almost every player. And it was the one, I think, that ended with Kane's ball into Son as well, which was the one he knocked wide. It had one-touch passing. I think that was the one that had the back heel from Emerson. Kane's kind of goal-style faded pass over the top to Sonny, and had Sonny put that away, it would have been one of the goals of the season. And that's not to do down Sonny. Got another goal and assist. Superb. And you know, Conte on the touchline, he's just orchestrating everything. He's kind of leaping around, telling people where to go. There was one point I watched him push Kulusevski back on the pitch. He was punching the air in delight, celebrating with his coaching staff, kept running over to Ryan Mason all the time. After the second goal and Doherty scored, he celebrated, but then he very much clearly turned to them and said, calm down, everyone calm. And and then that was his message on the pitch as well. I think he wanted the coaching staff to portray that, you know, so that was conveyed to the players. And then obviously we saw him going mad when they were scoring the goals, and just the connection with the fans is lovely. They're singing his name. It was about 3 or 4 times, and every time there was 2 of them he was like clapping, applauding them. Once he was sat down, like the one rare time he'd sat down. But there was one point where they were cheering his name, and he was doing all of that at them, properly like fist pumping them, saying, "Come on!" And it's just the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium's back to being a fortress again. You know, I think I wrote down the numbers of that. They've let's have a little look. There you go. Scored 13 goals and conceded just twice in those last 3 games at home. Won all 3 of them. And I said the atmosphere was superb. That's what we need. I know it's a cliche, but the fans are the 12th man, especially in a stadium like that with the noise it can generate. They were excellent. It's a bit like, I mean, it can be at any level. Selhurst Park, I felt the fans played their role last night against Arsenal as well. It's good. It is good. It is excellent. It's you know, those back-to-back defeats against Southampton Wolves, it was almost like they were the low point, hopefully the low point, and just since then the home now feels like Tottenham belong there again. You know, you got 5 goals against Everton as well, and now 5 goals against Newcastle, and yeah, they just know what they're doing. More quotes for you, more story times. Oh, that was it. It was because I asked him this question. So I asked him essentially that, you know, with everything you're seeing, is this your Conte Tottenham Hotspur now? And he said, now for sure you can see a team that has specific characteristics and you can recognise your football, as in his football, not mine. I'd love that to be my football. For this reason, I said that we're in the race to try and take a place in the Champions League. At this moment, the team is a team with an idea of football. Every single player knows very well what happens during the game and what they have to do. The players that came in today, for example, we lost Reguilon for an injury in his knee, and we've found a solution to play with Matthew. I love that he calls him Matthew. It's like such a teacher thing. Matthew on the left and Emerson on the right. Great performance for both. It means that there is a great work behind on the tactile aspect and the physical aspect, and you can see the team has big intensity from the start until the end. I have great staff behind me that work with the players, and now we have to be happy. Also tomorrow, but then from Tuesday, when we start to work, we think an important game against Aston Villa. It won't be easy to go there and take a good result, but we have 8 games, 8 finals for us, and every game it will be very important to get points and continue to dream to finish in the Champions League this season. You know, Højbjerg did some quotes from him that I put out today as well. It says Conte is a special coach. It's special ways that he works, and you just have to go with the flow because you know good things are going to happen. That's what we're seeing. It's so exciting. It really is. It's a good period, and this is why we need it to happen next season. Spurs keep Conte and Kane next season. Even without the backing that has to come, Tottenham will improve hugely. Tottenham will be a much, much better team than they are right now next season with the pre-season. But to have that and then the backing that has to come, you know, just almost want to fast forward as long as it meant Spurs got in the top 4, but obviously you'd miss out on some terrific football matches. So I'm not going to fast forward. More quotes. When you see the whole team, the whole squad, so very involved in this project, this makes me proud. It means they believe in work, and despite sometimes you decide the starting 11 and the others go on the bench and maybe someone can deserve to play, but at the same time they understand that now we're trying to create a squad, a strong squad. To have Steven Bergwijn, Lucas Moore on the bench means during the game you have 2 players that can change it, especially if you're down or need to win. Also Winksy. Today he came in and Winksy deserves to play, but you know Benson Kerr and Pierre are playing in a massive way. I have to consider it as a pity that we don't stay in other competitions, as if we were involved in other competitions, you can give more space to players they deserve. Don't forget Joe Rodon improved a lot from November until now. Every single player is improving a lot. Now, for example, Sanchez, before he was playing every game, but now not playing, as we found a good balance with Romero, Dyer and Davies. Not because he doesn't deserve to play, but in this moment they're playing very well. But to know if an injury does happen to one of the three central defenders, to have Joe Rodon and Patron Sanchez, as he likes to call him, behind makes me very happy. And also, you've got on top of that Oliver Skipp, who's about to come back with his new contract in tow. Ryan Sessegnon's about to come back as well. This is the thing, football can absolutely turn and this could all go the other way. But you look at Arsenal at the moment, some difficult injuries. Tierney now going to be out for the rest of the season. His name's completely gone out of my head. Partey looks like he could be out for a little while as well. They're suffering some injuries at some difficult times. Whereas Tottenham, touch wood, I've got a wooden shelf above my head, are starting to get their players back, which means they will probably have a crap injury now at the weekend. But at the moment, the squad is pretty much going to be there, apart from probably Tanganga within the next couple of games. He's the only one that we know is out for the rest of the season. So, it's all a very helpful time. Session on the Skip, hopefully. Conte was hoping they'd be back in training this week. Hopefully we'll see them. I think my gut tells me maybe we won't see them back until the Brighton game, but hey, they might come back and be in a great condition. And he might decide that they are ready to play against or be on the bench against Villa. We'll see, but I don't think you want to push him. You don't want to rush either of those two players. Also, Fabio Paratici. Talking of Sanchez, Paratici had to be dragged down the tunnel by Sanchez pretty much at half-time because he was ranting at the officials about something. I don't know what. I'm trying to think what it could have been. I think I knew at the time, and it's gone out of my head. But, Paratici, he's all ready to starting work towards the summer. I said before that he said, I don't know why I keep getting all indigestion and stuff. Apologies for that. It doesn't make the greatest of viewing, does it? I think I'm getting so excited, talking so quickly, I'm probably getting little pockets of air sat down there. But yeah, Paratici is already looking ahead to the summer. We know he already is talking to Conte almost every day about what they're going to do and what they want to do in the summer. But I know certainly they're, quite hot on Sam Johnson, the West Brom goalkeeper, 29, England goalkeeper in the England squad, although it wasn't the last one, but he has been. He's available on a free in the summer. Look, it's not the sexy transfer you're looking for this summer, but it's a clever first deal, I think, to get done this summer. Like I say, 29 years old, England international, homegrown for your squad. You give him next year and look to see how he kind of essentially adapts, really, to being at Spurs, how he does in the cup matches, and then you'll have a better knowledge of whether he can challenge Lloris the following year and potentially maybe succeed him if Lloris does head off into the sunset in 2024. I think it's a no-brainer. He's one of about 3 or 4 goalkeepers at Spurs I think have shortlisted for that backup role, which pretty much tells you that unlikely to make Galini's deal a permanent one if they're looking at other options. And look, bringing in Johnson for free, and I do understand they're the favourites to bring him in. I think there's a fair bit of interest in him, and it may be that someone else tries to offer him first team regular football, whereas Spurs, I think it's a big opportunity, and it would come with the knowledge that you do what you're doing, or you can do, and you do have the chance of succeeding him because 29 years old. Yes, it sounds older in player terms, but it's not for goalkeeper terms. He's got 5-6 years at the top. And you do say if you save that 11-12 million maybe from Galini, that goes elsewhere, because we mustn't forget that the first 2 transfers really Spurs need to do in the summer are to sign Christian Romero and Dejan Kulusevski. You're looking at about £65 million there. I think it's 25 for Kulusevski and about 42.5 for Romero. So 67.5 million there. So when everyone talks about these big spending that needs to do in the summer, the first 67 million has to take place on the two incredible players that have been bought this season. Sorry, loaned this season and need to be bought. So, yeah, I've had people asking me, will that impact this budget or will it be on a separate budget? It's like, it doesn't really work like that. You know, when you're trying to bring in players, you look at essentially how it impacts that season, and you know that for next season you will have to pay that if you want to keep them. So yes, I guess it is part of that. But Spurs know that they need more than that, so they can't allow it to impact hugely. But what I would say, I do think Paratici will look at free transfers as well, and he will look at more loans to buy. Loans to buy have probably been Spurs' most successful kind of things. Like Galini aside, you look at Romero and Kulusevski, brilliant signings. You look at Benson Kerr, brilliant signing, and he was only, I think it was 13, 14 initial, and I think there's another 5 to come. I think it's 15 million and another 5 million to come if he meets certain criteria. So I think this is the key thing with Spurs. I get the urge to throw money at the situation, but I think if anyone's proved that it's more important to get the right players than to throw money at the situation, it's Tottenham. You know, let's look at Kulusevski and Benson Kerr. Let's just use them as the example. 15 million for Benson Kerr, 2.5 for Kulusevski. So in 2 players, they've solved huge areas in their team in one go and spent 17.5 million on it. Spurs paid over 110 million in total for Ndombele and Lo Celso. I think if anything proves the point better, I don't know what more you can prove than that. That says it. It has to be right. You know, let's say, for example, this is only for example, let's say, for example, they went out and got Dybala on a free transfer. Doesn't mean you had to throw 40, 50 million at a player. You can get them. They're there. They're available. And I think that's the biggest thing that Kulusevski and Benson Kerr has proved, that when Spurs get it right, it's not about the money spent. And again, I don't want... Certain people will take that as, Gold says Spurs don't need to spend any money. And then other people who maybe really hate Daniel Levy or whatever will say, oh, there's Gold saying that, you know, preparing us for the worst. They don't have to spend money. They do have to spend money. They do, as an overall package, because I do think they need a number of players. But what I'm trying to say, and hopefully that's coming across, is it's about the right players. And that may be that the right player might cost 50 or 60 million. They might. And if they do, that's when you go for that player, as long as you've meticulously scouted them and know that they fit the Premier League and your team. But it may be that, you know, the better players that actually fit what you want are available for less. And that's where Spurs have to be clever, because they're going to be up against a lot of teams that can outspend them. And that's going to be the crucial thing, is getting it right. So, yeah, you know. Very excited about all that, and the summer as well. I think is actually going to be really exciting. You know, after as long as they do it right. I don't want another summer of a managerial search, please. No. Loan roundup. I was going to do one of those. Cameron Carter-Vickers. You know, if Spurs had a good weekend, Cameron Carter-Vickers had a superb one as well. Scored the winning goal in the Old Firm derby, scoring for Celtic against Rangers. The match winner, I think it was in the 42nd minute. Ball from a free kick dropped to him and he hit a low shot straight into the goal. Lovely goal. Really nice moment for him. And he is smashing it out there. You know, I think I tweeted that on Sunday about his goal, and I had people under Spurs, I don't care, whatever. Just get rid. And it's like, sometimes you've got to be aware of a player is developing. You know, I wonder what social media might have been like in Harry Kane's many loans when he was young, and what happened with him. And, you know, would they have said, oh, forget it? And I'm not saying that he's going to come back to Spurs. He's not. I don't think that's going to be the case at all. But there are Premier League clubs interested in buying him. Celtic want to make his deal permanent. The deal that they have with Spurs, the option is 6 million and then another 4 million, taking it up to about 10 million in total with add-ons. So, again, we talk about the 11 million saved with Galini. That sounds really bad. Just Galini, unfortunately, just hasn't worked for him. But it would be 11 million saved if they bring in Johnson. But then also, if you get 6 million, that's a start for Cameron Carter-Vickers. But he's had a terrific season. Really, really good. Man of the match in the Old Firm derby as well. lots of praise from all corners for his defending was superb. It wasn't just because he scored the goal. His defending was like rock solid. And yeah, I think he's one of those that you will be very well aware of. Don't forget, Celtic have had a fair few players that have gone on from there. You know, Van Dijk, Wanyama, Ayer as well. In more recent times, it's like, just because you're playing in Celtic doesn't mean that you're tucked away out of the limelight. And no, really happy for him. I've interviewed him a few times. Cameron Carter-Vickers, he's a very mature young man. He's had to adapt to a lot of loans, and hopefully this is him now taking a whole new trajectory, and good for him. He deserves it. It's his 7th loan at Tottenham. It'd be great now if he strikes out on his own as well. Tongi, who we were speaking about earlier, he grabbed an assist. Lyon beat Angers 3-2. His assist was quite a nice one, a very quick, scooped little ball through to Moussa Dembele, not that Moussa, the other one. I did watch some of the highlights from the game. I must admit, there's a few moments in the second half where Tongi was doing his old jog back. Sorry, I keep hitting the camera stand with my leg, which makes you probably think I'm in an earthquake. But a few moments where Tongi was doing the old jog back while the other team were attacking, and it's not the greatest look in the second half. I don't know whether that's a fitness thing or whether it's just him being the way he can be. But yeah, some mixed noises coming out of France over whether that's going to be something that's going to be extended next year. So we may have the whole Tongi situation in the summer again. I reckon Lyon would like another loan personally, but we'll see what happens. Brian Hill. Oh, actually, Tongi is back in the UK this week because obviously West Ham hosting Lyon in the Europa League quarterfinals. So maybe he'll turn it on back in England. Brian Hill picked up an injury late on in Valencia's 0-0 draw against Cadiz. I think I've written that down as well. Discomfort in his lower back and part of his hip. Hopefully, that's nothing too bad because he's been making a real impression back in La Liga. Lo Celso, he only played 28 minutes from the bench. Villarreal lost 2-0 at Levante in La Liga. I presume that's because of the Champions League game against Bayern. I think it's tomorrow night, probably with that in mind. Pape Matar Sarr came off the bench again. Metz lost 2-1 at home to Monaco. They're in all kinds of problems, Metz. I think it's going to be a tough one for them to stay up. Although Pape Matar Sarr did have a little bit of international joy. It came on for the last 6 minutes before the shootout against Egypt, wasn't it, for Senegal? Senegal obviously going through. That'll be the one you might have seen the videos of Salah having all the laser pointers in his face as he's trying to take one of the penalties. Troy Parrott played pretty well. Spurs. MK Dons beat Crew 2-0. Again, as I always do, read the local player ratings in the MK Citizen. I think it was that does that. He got a 7. It said he played well. Just nothing really kind of came at the end. Obviously, he had a cracking international break with that great goal against Lithuania to win that match for the Republic of Ireland. Keanu Tete, unfortunately, out injured again for Cheltenham. He came back in their last game, came off the bench, but not involved again. I presume that's to do with that ankle injury that's been a real pain in the backside for him, or a pain in the ankle for him. Jack Clark, 90 minutes, playing on the left. Sunderland beat Gillingham 1-0. Still no minutes for Niall Charlton. It's just not working out for him. I mean, he's getting the experience of being in and around the first team, but I don't know whether development-wise it's really doing him any favours whatsoever. Alfie Whiteman, Swedish season has now started. He played last night, I think it was. Degerfors, who he plays for, they lost 3-1 to, I want to get the name right, Djurgården. DJ Garden. It's probably a silent D, I'd imagine. Kap Kulowitz wasn't in the squad again for Potters Bar Town. Not really sure what's happening with that loan. He's there on one of these loans because they're part-time. Obviously, they play in the Ryman League or Isthmian League. He trains still with Spurs, but he hasn't been in their squad for the last couple of games. So whether that's an injury thing or whether just it isn't really working, I don't know. But I'll find out a little bit more on that. But yeah, I think that's a lone run-up. 11 players, all out and about, mixed time for them. Different, I don't think anyone's beaten Cameron Carter-Vickers for the performance of the weekend. But yeah, they're all making their way in different ways. A couple of injuries in there. But now we turn back to Spurs and Aston Villa at the weekend. 8 games to go. Villa are under Gerrard they've got something about them. They've had a little stumble recently. I think they've lost 3. They'd won 3, and in the last 3 they've lost. But it's not like they've been completely out of those games at all. They will be a threat. We'll have Coutinho, obviously, involved. We know what kind of a player he can be. Ollie Watkins up front, I think, is a very good striker as well. And obviously going to Villa Park, it's for me, it's quite a... Every weekend's crucial, but for me, it's going to be a real telltale weekend in a way, because Arsenal at home against Brighton, that's a game, injuries aside, they should be winning that. Brighton are in a tough spot at the moment, can't score goals. Arsenal should win that, and we can expect them, I think, to win that. Tottenham have to go to Aston Villa and just no excuses, get the job done. And it's not an easy game. I think if Tottenham come through this weekend still in 4th place, I think they can really start to believe. They can. I think the momentum will be fully behind them. It's kind of there. It's there for them, and it's exciting yet scary because it's Tottenham. We've been here before with certain things, but I'd hope that in Conte they've got a man that's been there and done it. He knows what to do in the business end of a season. He's a winner. He is, and he's got them playing in the way he wants them to play. And if he can get them thinking with everything they do in the same way that he does, all bets are off. Spurs really, they could be finishing this season in a very exciting way, but they've got to do it. We've all got, you're a Tottenham fan, you're going to have that element of doubt in the back of your mind. Of course you are. They're absolutely as capable of going to Villa and winning 5-0 as they are going there and losing. They really can. We just have to hope the momentum's with them. I've seen Doherty saying it, Kane saying it, Hotspur saying it. They're at this stage at the moment where they feel like they're going on a pitch and everything they're doing is working. They've got confidence, they've got belief in the system, they've got belief in the manager. They feel that they understand what he's asking of them now. If they translate that onto that pitch, hopefully. It's quite interesting. So Jamie Carragher, I watched some Monday Night Football. There's loads of really interesting stuff. Wayne Rooney was really fascinating. He's very, very deeply thinks about the game. You can see that. He might have been someone that maybe you'd stereotype as someone that wouldn't do so. But I think as he's proving to be a good manager, I think you can see he watches a lot of football. And I thought that was fascinating. But Jamie Carragher said, quite interestingly, it's still in Arsenal's hands. They're the ones in control of this. And that was quite interesting because they're not. Spurs are in control now. And maybe there's this feeling that, I don't know, historically, Arsenal would always have this kind of hoodoo over Tottenham when it came to the run-in. But, we've seen in recent years, in previous years, that Spurs have kind of flipped that around. So you never know. The pressure might be on Arsenal. We saw them struggling with the pressure last night at Selhurst Park. So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Wouldn't it be fantastic to have a really exciting end to the season, an exciting summer, and then they go into the pre-season tour to South Korea, and it looks like they're trying to sort out kind of a very brief trip to Israel as well, which will be interesting to see how that works. I think it would probably be quite late on in the pre-season. I think it's all to do with the fact that there's a fair bit happening at the stadium. I think that's maybe when Gaga's playing, so they can't have the normal home friendly that they try and get in there before the season begins. So I think that's why they're looking at potentially Israel, but we'll see whether that ends up being the case or not. But yeah, wouldn't it be just great to... We've had a few years of Spurs being really like, when you're watching them, and now to actually have something to build on and look forward to could be great. I hope this video uploads properly. It's been having some real funny issues at the moment. It may be that I'm going over the hour mark, and maybe I'm stuffing myself slightly in. YouTube doesn't quite know how to deal with that. What I would say, if this has gone up, and this is of no use to you whatsoever if you're trying to get this to work, but if you have got it to work and stick with it, there seems to be a few themes. There seems to be that if the notification doesn't work or the video suddenly isn't available, either changing the video resolution seems to work, or viewing it through Safari if you've got an iPhone, or your browser, or straight on your laptop to watching it, you can watch it. Or failing all of that, it looks like at least within 24 hours later, the video works. I don't know why, whether it's a caching issue or it's just the fact that YouTube isn't liking my videos right now. I don't know. But I was quite heartened to see that pretty much I think everyone that couldn't watch it when they first tried, when they tried the next day, it was there to be watched. So it's happened with the last two. Again, it may be that I'm talking for too long. And it goes on, maybe I have to get them back under the hour mark, which some people might be very happy about. But it may be that's an issue. So I'll try and upload this one and see what happens. And now time to head off. So hopefully good things this weekend. I'm hoping, I still haven't actually heard whether my accreditation has been accepted for Villa Park. I'm hoping it will. And then we'll have loads more to talk about. So as always, stay safe, stay healthy, look after yourselves, and I shall catch you later. Goodbye.